Welcome to Gospel Truth with Andrew Wommack, a teaching ministry that focuses on God's unconditional love and grace. And now, Andrew continues teaching from the life-changing Word of God about making sense.
Welcome to our Monday's broadcast of the Gospel Truth. Today's the beginning of my second week interviewing Paul Milligan. He's the CEO of our ministry. He's got a number of corporations, very prosperous man. God has blessed him in all ways. He's one of these 10 talent guys. I don't know how he got all of these talents, but he's a businessman, he's a minister, he's a musician, he plays, he sings. I don't know, it just doesn't seem fair. But anyway, he's a blessing, and we've been talking about his new software and program that he's got entitled Making Sense. And basically last week all we did was pretty much just show you the need for managing our money properly. Giving is absolutely important. We've talked about that, but that's just like a first step. You need to manage this other 90% or whatever percent that's left over, and we need to become good stewards of our resources. And so we've talked about the need for it. We've talked about that it starts with a heart attitude, that every one of us have something that we can do. There is no excuse. This works in Uganda. It works anywhere. We've given a lot of things this last week. But this week, Paul, we need to get into some of the software, and you just start showing people how to start making sense, how to make all of this work.
Right. You know, the software is designed, we just updated it again for the third time actually, and I really like the way it's designed now and structured. So we'll get into the first page. When people go into the software, the first thing it asks them to do is create a profile. They're looking at the screen right now. They'll see my arrow is pointed to this button that says create profile. So I've already gone in here and created a sample profile, so I'm going to look at that. So I select the profile and then I open it here. Well, here's the first thing I want them to see. So this says personal data. This is their profile. So here's the concept. They give the software all of their personal information, and then that gives the software the ability to help them manage their income and expenses. And so a lot of this is personal information on the first page. It's add name, address, and those kinds of things, birth date, when you plan on retiring, the age of this person. This is a 35-year-old person, was born in 1981. That's about how old I was in 1981. But then here at the bottom it says retirement age 65, and so that's just personal information. And then what happens is you go through each one of these next categories. The next category is cash. So what the software is asking you is, how much cash do you have on hand? Here, this is $500. Checking accounts, there's $24.50. Savings accounts, there's $88.75, and so on. So each one of these accounts, you put your cash in, and then these categories over here on the left-hand side, here's cash, the next is receivables, the next is securities, retirement, real estate you own. These are assets, any other assets you own. And then you get here to that nasty one called debt, okay? And so you have to enter your debt here. You add, there's a button right here, red button that says add debt. And I've already put in a MasterCard, a Visa, a mortgage, and some things. And so you can add the debt right there, and you put in there the balance that you owe, the minimum payments you're making, and the interest of that loan. You look here, these credit cards, I'm being nice here. A lot of credit cards are 18 to 20%. I've got 14.5 in here. And so the frequency of how you pay them on 12 months, and so on. Then you put your income in. So the next one is right here is income, and so you do salary. Now here's something interesting we do. This is where you put in your income, your salary, and then the frequency. So this person's making $39.75 26 times a year on the right-hand side over here.
Paid every other week.
Paid every other week. And then we've got interest and dividends that they make. That's other income. Then here's their tithes. They're paying $900 a month in tithes and $738 in taxes. That's 26 times a year because they get paid every other week. Okay, so then you can go down here and then you can tell the software back over here to this blue screen. Here's auto, that's the expenses for your car, other than the fact, not just the car loan, but expenses, fuel and other things. Housing, how much you spend on housing, utilities.
It looks like you got everything in there.
We challenge people. We ask people, if you can find a category that we don't cover, please let us know. We've never had that happen. So everything is here, savings, on and on.
And it looks pretty easy too. I'm not a computer guy, but that seems pretty simple.
It's really simple. You just click the category and then you just put the information in. We've looked at this. It takes about 2 hours the first time because you got to gather your information and get it put in correctly. But you can do this in a couple of hours with no problem. So then once you get this profile built, then you go to what we call a dashboard. If you look up there at the top, here's the dashboard. And it starts out with my spending. So look at this. Here's our gross earnings. If you look at this first column right here, gross earnings, there's tithes again, there's taxes. This is on a monthly basis now. And then that EA, that's earnings after tithes and taxes. That's what you have left to eat. EATT. Okay? So there's what you net, $61.59.50. And then down here, what we have is here's all those categories that we just put in the profile. But here what you're doing is you're telling the software, I'm going to spend, it's like a budget. I don't like the word budget because it's negative. I call this a spending plan. So the first category up here, you're telling that I'm going to spend $309.58 a month on my car. Here's housing and so on. Utilities, here's food, clothing, and so on. And then it tells you the percentage of your EAT income that represents. So in this case, the car represents 5% of that $61.59. That's the way to read that. And then last month, there's what you spent on it last month. So this month, here's what you told the software. About $309 is what I normally spend on my car, but last month you only spent $225. Maybe you didn't drive as much. And then here's current month spending. You went over $325. So then there's all the categories. You get the same information on all those. Now here's something interesting. Right here, we have what's called suggested spending. And we believe, and look, this is subjective. People can change this if they want to. But here's what we've done here. We've given you the amount that we suggest that category should take.
How did you come up with that?
We did a combination of government statistics and just conventional wisdom out there of what you should spend in each one of these categories.
So instead of a person having to make all these decisions on their own, you've got a suggestion and they can
That's
look
right.
at it.
And it's not just our opinion. We went out and gathered up some information to try to figure out how to do that. So you can see here what percentage that should be. And then you can see the differences between what you spend and what, in other words, is suggested that you spend. If it's red, you're out of whack. If it's black, you're either on it or under it.
So you could actually just glance at this thing and see the things that are in the red and see these are areas that I am not following the guidelines.
And if that's not clear enough for you, you can go to this spending chart. Here it shows it to you in a pie chart. So there, look at this. And look, I was very, very conservative here. I didn't just load this up with debt, but look at debt. Look how big that piece of pie is. And here's what that proves to me. Any debt is going to get your finances out of whack. And so all these other little pieces of pie are what we looked at in those categories.
You know, I remember when we bought our house, this is back in 1988, I believe it was, and I got a VA loan, and I had no money. If it hadn't been for the VA, I couldn't have got the house because I didn't have any money for a down payment or anything. But anyway, when we signed the papers, we had a disclosure thing, and they had to tell us what the actual payout would be at the end of the thing. And I forget now, but my house was only $60,000 that I bought. But when we paid it off at the end of the thing, it was going to be 120 or 140 or so. I forget now. But anyway, it was twice what it was worth. We got the thing paid off in 12 years. But that's amazing.
Most mortgages in the 4 to 7% range, you're going to pay almost 3 times the principal amount of the house. It's amazing.
And see, people don't realize that. They just look at it in a monthly deal. How much can I pay? But they don't look at, they're paying for that house twice, 3 times what it's worth.
You are. It's just, debt just destroys your finances. And look, I've had people tell me, well, but you know, I make enough income, I can deal with it. I can handle the debt. Look, that may be true, but here's the problem. Think of all the money you're wasting.
Yeah.
What could you have done if you paid $60,000 for a house and it cost you $180,000? $120,000 just went right out the window.
This goes back to the last Friday's broadcast. We just acquired this 336 acres, and that's great, and it's going to help us to do things. I believe it's God. But if I would have gone in debt, which I could have done, people begging me to do it, I would have lost a minimum of $13 million. And if it would have been 4.5% over 30 years, it would have been $17 million in debt that I paid.
Interest, yeah.
And we just saved that money. That's $13 to $17 million that we can use to change people's lives versus giving it to a banker.
Yes, and God has given you plenty of ideas for us to use that $13 million.
Oh, there's no problem. And it's not just for me, Paul. It'll work for anybody.
It will. Yeah, and so back to this spending charts. There's not just that one. There's a spending chart. There's a suggested spending chart, and then there's your current month that tells you. It'll compare what you're doing. Look at that. Look at debt on the current month. All right, so then that's
over 50%.
Yeah, and so we go from that spending. We just told it, okay, this is our budget. This is our spending plan. This is what we're going to do. Now, this is really interesting. This is called a spend tracker. So if you look at this, let's look for a moment down here at tithes. So you've told the software that you're going to spend $900 a month in tithes. See the number over here to the right here where my arrow is? That's what you put in the spending plan. Tithes are $900 a month.
So that means that this person's making over $9,000 a month.
They're making about $9,000 a month. That's correct.
That's pretty good income.
So then over here, tithes, they've paid $345 to this date. It's green. You see this green bar? That means that they're on track to pay their $900.
Very good.
Okay, but look down here at auto. You told them you're going to spend $309 on auto, and you spent $325, so it's red.
Yep.
Now here's what's interesting about that. What we've done is there's an algorithm in here that accounts for the fact that the month is 30 days. So if your tithes are $900 and you get to the middle of the month, the 15th of the month, you should have tithed $450. So it takes that into account to give you red, yellow, or green.
So you don't have to wait until the end of the month when you've already messed
You've already messed it up.
You can see that I'm headed in the wrong direction.
And the way it's designed is it'll give you the yellow bar to caution you, hey, you're getting out of whack. And then when you go over, it'll give you the red bar.
Man, that's really good.
So it's just a glance. Look at all these categories down here.
Praise God, I'm out of debt. I don't have to use this, but I could see that this would really, really help you if you were trying to get a hold of this.
It could help you. It's helped a lot of people. So then next, let's see. Next we go to this is a check register. So this is like a checkbook. And so what you do here is when you write a check or you use your ATM or however you pay bills, you put in here the payee, who you paid it to, and then we've got categories over here. There's all of our categories that came from our spending chart. Remember when we put all that in? And then here's type. That means if it's a check or an ATM or however you paid it, it goes in there. The date, the amount of the payment, and payments go with this button right here, but if you're putting your income in here, which you have to do, if it's your paycheck, you put it in as a deposit. So you add it right here with this add item, and here's some examples. So if you look here, here's on a debit card, I paid money to Valero, which is a gas station, for my auto. Here's the payment I made, and here's the balance. That's my checking book balance, okay? And then here's some other examples. Here's the electric bill down here, and so on. So as you fill this in, then this populates back to the spending and keeps track of the spending over there. Okay, so then you go from.
How much time does this take to maintain all of this?
I've asked people this. They tell me that this is the real point of maintenance right here. 10-15 minutes every other day. Some of them wait till the end of the week and just update it all at once.
Of course, if you wait till the end of the week, you'd lose the benefit of that thing cautioning you.
Exactly. You lose some of those benefits. Most people try to do it every day or every other day. It really seems to work better for them. Now this next category, okay, now here, this is called a debt tracker. And if you look, it says here, this is a quick view of your overall debt and how it compares to your income. And so right here is a car. We own a car. The balance is $22,000. Our payment's $625, and then it's the percentage of our debt. This is 11% of the money we owe. And then
that's a huge payment.
Yeah, they probably bought this car for $35,000, $40,000, and they've been making that high payment.
Is that a typical payment of $600?
Yeah, yes. Some people pay a lot more.
Now,
than
see,
that.
I would say that if you're paying $600 or $700 a month for a car, man, I would go buy a used car.
Yes.
And take the extra money that you would have been paying on payments and put that aside, and then you'll be able to go buy a brand new car.
You know how important what you just said is? You can take, let's take this car we're talking about, okay? And that looks like that. See, this is not a $625 payment on a $22,000 loan.
No.
They bought this car sometime in the past. But here, the point you're making is a great one, because you could sell that car, get you a used car, and that $625 could go as your fast track amount, which we're going to show here in a minute. And I want to show you what kind of impact that would have.
Let's just assume that car, you could sell it for $22,000.
Right.
You could go out and buy a car for $15,000, have $7,000 to pay off other indebtedness, and that $15,000 car would still be very dependable. Take the extra money, the $600 a month that you were saving, and go to paying off things. Man, that would radically change a person's financial income.
So then you can see over here is the percentage of the payments you're making. And the reason we do this over here with these percentages is because it makes the point you were making. That $625 is way out of whack. That's 30% of all the payments they're making is with the car.
That's way
out of whack. So then the next one is...
Do you have anything that shows suggest what percentage of your income should be going towards a car payment or a mortgage?
You know, yes, it's easily found. We don't have it in the software, but that is probably 12 to 15%, I would guess. And that's a guess. Don't quote me on that.
You know, in the past, I've heard people say that you shouldn't spend over 25% of your income on a mortgage.
That's right, right.
But I think that I heard a statistic that the average person is way higher than that, up to 40%.
Even more. In our case right here, this next one is the mortgage, $165,000 mortgage. Look at this. It's 85% of their debt, 58% of their debt payments.
Wow. Now, a person that's in this financial shape, they're in trouble, I guess.
Well, they could be. This particular
person, on what
person,
their income is.
Yeah, this particular person has enough income, and I did that for a reason. We'll get to it later. But this person has enough income that they're not in trouble today. Then, of course, the next one is Visa, and then there's a MasterCard.
You know, let me just point this out, though, that even if you had enough income that you could do things like this, you're still paying a lot of money to borrowers and things like this that you could be investing into the kingdom. Or into a business or into something else and stuff. And so I don't think that even if you have an high income that debt is a good thing.
You know, Andrew, sometimes we've talked about, is it really all that important to be a really good steward, a great steward, and do it the way God says to do it? If you think with me for a moment, all the Christians that just you and I know, that are your partners that we're associated with, just take that group. If they were all stewards the way we're talking about, they had all that extra income to give into the kingdom, look what we could accomplish, God could accomplish through us with that kind of wealth. That's my main motivation for being a good steward.
You know, I have so many partners come to me and they are thrilled to be a partner with us. They're excited about all of the things they see happening. And I've heard this 1,000 times. I wished I had more. I wished I could do more. And a lot of them can't do more. They have the desire, but they can't do it because of their debt. They're servicing all of this debt.
Yeah, and that's really what they mean. But see, we've come to the place where we're so okay with debt that that's acceptable. It's acceptable for me to be in debt to the point where I can't give.
You know, I've heard this. You could explain this better than I can. But I heard we started taking our payments when we did have a mortgage on our house, and we didn't increase the payments at first. We didn't have enough money to do it. We just started paying twice a month. And I forgot, but it saved us $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 or something overall.
Here's what that'll save you. Let's say let's say you go buy a house today and you do a 30-year mortgage. Let me tell you the greatest wisdom you can give somebody. I tell people this all the time. If you close on a house today, make a payment today, make one at the first of the month the next month. You know what that will do? That's the same thing as what you just said. Make an extra payment a year or 2 extra payments a year. It will cut 9 years off a 30-year mortgage. If you just paid it out for the rest of the time, 9 years is cut off just by making one payment early and getting your schedule ahead. Because here's what you're basically doing.
Well, see, that piece of information is valuable because I've never heard that before.
Yeah. You can find, this is all over the internet.
Nearly anybody could do that.
Yeah.
What I was talking about, I mean, that's great, but what I was talking about is I don't forget what our payment was, but if it was $1,000 a month or whatever it was, we would make 2 $500 payments in a month, and it knocked money off the thing.
Yeah,
Somehow,
and you know
I don't
what
know how
you
that
did may be easier for people. That's a simpler. It'd be most everybody could do that. And what you're doing is you're splitting that payment up, so you end up bringing the principal down quicker. Is what ends up happening, and so you pay less interest.
Yeah, I've seen the stats that when you start in a loan and you pay $1,000, it's like $995 goes towards interest and $5 towards the principal. And then as you get towards the end of the loan, it changes to where you're paying most of it on the principal.
So you're going to see here in this next category, debt eliminator. This is really incredible what this does. But you're going to see how this is almost shocking, what we're about to look at, because it speaks to what you're talking about.
We may have to wait. We only have a couple of minutes left. So let me just go back and say that, we paid our house off, I think, it was either 12 or 14 years or something. And we started by making double payments, and that knocked a lot of the principal down. And then as God prospered us, we got to where we were making twice. I mean, if it was $1,000 a month, we were paying $2,000 a month and $2,500 and stuff. So we got it paid off as quickly as we could. And I don't know exactly how much we saved, but our house was only $60,000 was the indebtedness on it and stuff like that. So it's probably not as big as if a person had a $500,000 house. But we probably saved $60,000 or more in interest that now is in our pocket.
Yeah, probably did, and the key to what we're sitting here talking about is to get rid of bring the principal down. So in other words, paying over what you're paying in interest, because if you bring in the principal down, you're not just killing the debt, you're also reducing the amount of interest you're going to pay.
So when you make additional payments, that goes directly to principal.
That's
doesn't
correct.
have anything
over the minimum payment goes directly to principal.
See, this is great information. And again, I imagine most people know this, but I bet you there's a lot of people like me that they don't know very much about it. So this could radically reduce a person's debt in a hurry.
Yeah, and we'll get to see that in the next program.
Okay, so we'll have to wait until tomorrow to do that. But I want to mention that I've got this book entitled Financial Stewardship, and this is teaching on how that we are stewards. Everything we have is God's, not just 10%, but everything. But it does emphasize about giving, putting first the kingdom of God, giving God your first fruits, and about trusting Him. And so this is the spiritual side of it. And Paul's information, all of these things are the nuts and the bolts. And I think you can see through what we talked about today, the benefit to you, how this will help you. So we've got all of this package, and you said that this is web-based and that they have a 6-month free subscription.
6 month free subscription, and I think it's like $5 a month after that, as long as they use it. Also, we just updated this, and this is for people who already have what's called setting your financial house in order or making sense. What you have is not this. This is a completely updated version. So if you've got that product, you want to look at getting this because it's been updated since you got that.
And so what we're doing is really just teaching you some practical things about how to get it done. And this is just a resource. You could do it without this, but this is a resource that you could use that would be a real blessing to you. So listen to our announcer as he gives you the information about how to receive it. Call or write today and join us again tomorrow as we continue the gospel truth.
Since the filming of these programs, the Making Sense teachings on the USB drive have been updated. This update includes changing the name to Basic Sense. The updated Basic Sense financial teaching from Paul Milligan is available in audio and video teachings on a USB drive. When you order this teaching, you'll also receive instructions to register for 6 months of free access to the online money management program, also titled Basic Sense. The Basic Sense online money management program will help you eliminate debt, establish a spending plan, and develop a monthly spending report. With this tool, you can become debt-free, and most can experience financial freedom in just 7 years. Make sense of your finances and contact us today to order Basic Sense for just $149. Or for just $20 more, you can get the Basic Sense package. This package includes the Basic Sense USB teaching with 6 months of free access to the Basic Sense online money management program, along with 2 of Andrew's books, Financial Stewardship and Living in God's Best, as well as Andrew's teaching titled, What's in Your Hand on CD and DVD. This package has a catalog value of $200.99, but you can get it today for just $169. Make sure to get the Basic Sense package when you contact us today. You can order resources or become a Grace Partner by visiting our website at awmi.net. While there, you can discover more product details and download many free resources. Or call our helpline Monday through Friday from 4:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Our number is 719-635-1111. To write us, use the address on your screen. We'd like to point out Andrew's upcoming speaking schedule. Mark your calendars to come meet Andrew at one of these events. In the month of January, to welcome in the new year, Andrew will be in Glendale, Arizona for the annual Phoenix Gospel Truth Conference. In March, he'll be at the Sanctuary in Woodland Park for the annual Charis Bible College Men's Advance with special guest Tony Dungy, New York Times best-selling author, NFL Hall of Fame and Super Bowl winning coach, and James Brown, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster on the CBS and NFL networks. Also in March, Andrew will be in Portland, Oregon, and will be hosting a special Easter season production titled God With Us at the Pikes Peak Center in Colorado Springs, Colorado. God With Us is the original love story of a passionate God on a relentless quest to rescue his people. For more details on Andrew's next meeting in your area, visit our website at awmi.net.
Okay, this is our construction update, and a lot of this I'm going to take from a walkthrough that I did on a live streaming thing, and we're going to be showing you some of the footage and where we stand right now, and I believe it'll be a real blessing to you. We are upstairs. This is a break area, and we're going to have tables and chairs, couches in here, and including the upstairs and the downstairs, we're going to be able to put at least 1,200, maybe as many as 1,500 people sitting out here in these outer concourses, as a break room. So this is where all the ductwork is going and things. On the roof here, they've sprayed 4.5 inches of black stuff. I'm not sure that you can see it, but it's insulation so that we could have a hailstorm and you'd never be able to hear anything in here. So it's insulation for weather and for sound. Back over here is the platform, and it's a semicircle here. It's a huge platform, and we'll be able to seat 3,200 people in here. We are right now $9 million away from having this building totally finished. We've been spending $550,000 a month, and at that pace, it will take us about 16 months, somewhere around January or February of 2019, before we would be able to occupy this building with all of the furniture, with all the cameras, with all the audio visual, the landscaping, and all of the things that the city requires that we do to be able to have full occupancy. About $4 million worth of that, and that's what's going to push it into the beginning of 2019 unless we get an increase in income, and I believe it's coming. So if God is speaking to you, if you want to help us reach out and get this done so that start the 2018-2019 school year, I guarantee you it would be a tremendous blessing to all of the students that you're helping us to reach. So thank you, and I'll give you another construction update in about a month.